welcome back to my channel. So today for you guys I have a Dollar Tree DIY video where I'm going to show you some organizational pieces and decor pieces you can use inside of your bathroom. I currently have a new bathroom. Well, the bathroom was here. We did some construction on it and changed the look of it, and I've been decorating it. So this is a collab with all things crafty. Her name is Melissa here on YouTube. I'm going to link her down below for you guys, and you have to check out what she did with Dollar Tree products. Like, it amazes me some of the ideas that she comes up with. You gotta check her out. I'll link it down below for you guys. Last month we uploaded a kitchen Dollar Tree DIY video, and we decided when we did that one that we wanted to do a bathroom DIY video as well. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and if you want to see a tour of the new basement and bathroom, let me know down in the comments below. I already gave you guys a tour when we bought the house, and if you are familiar with the basement, the bathroom that was in the basement, there was mold, there was cigarette butts, there were so many things. So if you want to see a tour of what we've done, let me know. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, make sure you subscribe, and now let's begin.
For our first DIY, I'm going to be using 4 wooden trays that I got from Dollar Tree. I'll also be using a piece of wood that I stained with mint wax stain in classic gray. This wood I actually purchased about 4 years ago. I used part of it on my channel for a DIY about 4 years ago, and then I had some leftover that I'm using for this DIY. This DIY I filmed when I was pregnant, so you might be able to see my belly popping out. I stained the trays using mint wax stain and dark walnut. I'll be attaching these trays to the piece of wood using wood glue. If you have small screws on hand, you can go ahead and drill them into the trays where they meet the wood and secure it that way. Now, I decided to use wood versus something from Dollar Tree because at the end of the day, it was going to be cheaper for me to get wood from the hardware store than it was to get something from Dollar Tree. But if you're looking for Dollar Tree alternatives, they carry the wooden rulers. They come 2 for $1. You're going to need quite a bit of them if you want to make a bigger version of this like I have. Or you can use the plaques that Dollar Tree gets in. You'll have to buy multiple ones of those as well, at least 6 of them. And even then, it might be a little bit thin, the wood backing. So that's why if you can go, I recommend just going to the hardware store and getting wood from the hardware store versus buying something from Dollar Tree instead. You can take this piece and drill it directly into your wall. If you want it to be standalone, not attached to your wall, put the heaviest thing that you want to inside of this at the bottom tray. But I think this is a perfect piece to hold extra toilet paper rolls, hand towels, lightweight decor. And what's nice about it is it's nice and thin, so if it's on the side of a toilet and smaller bathrooms near a vanity, there's different areas you can put this inside of a smaller bathroom, and it adds a lot more storage options. With the main pieces alone, not counting the wood stain or the wood glue, this only cost me $7 to make, and on top of that, I had extra wood that I had used in a different DIY. Moving on to our next DIY. I had some 2.5-inch wide pieces of scrap wood on hand that I decided to use for this. Matt was trying to show me how to use the circle saw. I had cut 4 pieces of wood that were about 16.5 inches long, and then 2 pieces of wood that were 7 3/4 of an inch long. Now I take my pieces of wood and I attach them together using some wood glue. If you have other tools that you want to use, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to drill this together, if you want to nail it together, those are options that you can go with as long as you know what you're doing. So I just used regular wood glue and I attached 2 of my longer pieces together. Then I take the other 2 long pieces that I have and I put them at what's going to be the front and the back of my box. And then I take the 2 smaller pieces and I place them on the side, and those are the sides of my box. You can use whatever type of wood you have on hand. You can use pieces of wood that are wider than what I used. I'm just using the scrap wood that I had on hand, but it's all up to you. Another thing I was doing, since I was using wood glue, I was using my finger to spread it out because I didn't want any to seep between the seams of any area that I attached. I waited for the wood glue to completely dry. It basically took overnight, and then I went ahead and stained the wood. I used Varathane stain in Early American. Next up, from Dollar Tree, I purchased these self-adhesive stencils. I'm going to be using them to create a pretty little pattern on my box. This is another project where you could use Dollar Tree products instead of wood that you get from the hardware store. You can use the Dollar Tree rulers, the Dollar Tree wood plaques that I'm talking about, or even the Dollar Tree trays you just saw me use. You can use a couple of those depending on how big you're trying to make your little box. And that's if you want to go the route of using something from Dollar Tree, but it's cheaper again to probably go to the hardware store and get wood there. I would say the most inconvenient thing about going to the hardware store and getting wood is if you don't have the means to get there, or if you don't really have the tools, in which case you can always ask the hardware store like Lowe's and Home Depot to cut the wood down to your measurements. For the most part, they will do it, especially for something that is a smaller craft. I think when you're asking them to cut down like lots of wood, when they're like, but little craft ones, I always have success in asking them to cut down my wood. The paint I was using was Waverly Chalk Paint in white. I got it from Walmart, and then I was using a paint sponge to just go ahead and paint over the stencil from Dollar Tree, and I really love the pattern from the stencil. Anyways, what I ended up doing with this box was using it as a toilet cover tray. So something that was kind of a decorative piece to go over the toilet cover. I have this big old space now above the toilet, and I didn't know what to put there. I thought a picture looked funny because there's a window directly above the toilet. So I have this little toilet tray that I put some toilet paper inside of and a plant, and I actually really just fancied up my toilet, and it's just perfect for extra storage. It's another great storage piece that you can use if you have a smaller bathroom. I mean, you can always put toilet paper directly on top of the cover and a plant, but I feel like this makes it look much nicer. I absolutely love our next DIY. It came out so nice in my bathroom. Anyways, from Dollar Tree, I had picked up these little pieces of like framed tabletop decor pieces. Now, the piece that is inside of there, it's like a tile piece. Now, if you cannot find those, you can use a piece of paper on the back of some Dollar Tree frames. You can also get the coasters that Dollar Tree carries, but those worked out perfectly for me. So I'm also going to be using a stencil that I got from Dollar Tree. These aren't the self-adhesive kind. This is just a stencil that you have to hold in place. So try your best not to move it around. What I'm doing is I'm taking the stencil and I am using some black paint that I got from Walmart. It's the Waverly Chalk Paint in Ebony. And I'm using that to transfer the pattern that's on the stencil on top of that piece that is very much like a tile. It's probably a ceramic material. It's just very much so like a tile. I did 2 different types of patterns with these stencils from Dollar Tree, but the stencil that I got was one stencil with 4 different patterns, and I was able to use that for the entire DIY. It was just $1 for these stencils. Now, after I have everything painted and the paint has dried, I go ahead and I glue those pieces that I took out of the frames back into the frames. Things got a little complicated here, and rather than take this footage out, I decided to share it with you guys so you don't make the mistake that I did. Originally, I decided to glue all of my frames together using Gorilla Glue, which is like E6000, and hot glue. The Gorilla Glue wouldn't dry, and it was making everything a mess because of the material of these frames. These frames kind of have like this laminate material to them, and it just wouldn't dry. It was making a mess. Instead, I just decided to use hot glue to attach some of the frames together. And then I got a piece of wood, put E6000 on the wood, and then attached my frames to that wood. The E6000 is able to adhere to that ceramic material that's inside of the picture frames. It's just not really able to adhere well to the picture frames. I made one big unit out of this, and it's heavy. So if you are a renter and you don't want to put holes in your wall, I recommend just putting each little piece on your wall individually using command strips that can hold the weight of your pieces. What I did was use some picture hangers. They're sawtooth hangers. I placed them on the back of the wood and then I nailed them into place. You can also get picture hangers that have screws. You just got to make sure you're getting one that holds the weight of whatever it is that you're hanging. So I ended up using 3 of those sawtooth hangers and nailed nailing them into my wood. I go ahead, put the nails inside of the wall, and then I just hang this thing right below my window. I love the way that this turned out. It was so inexpensive to make, and I didn't have to commit to permanent tiles that are going to be on my wall. Instead, I made this unit that can come and go as I please. For our next DIY, I'm going to be using these wooden crates that I got from Dollar Tree. They're not usually red. I'm using some crates that I had used in a previous DIY where I painted them red. This time around, I'm painting them black. I'm just using 2 of them total. I'll also be using these crates from Dollar Tree that have wooden slats. You can see the difference between the 2 that they carry. One has gaps and the other one doesn't. The one that has the wooden slats fits inside of the crate that doesn't have them. I am staining these crates using Varathane Stain in Early American. Now I'm going to be adding a nice little pattern on the front of my crates, the ones that have the wooden slats, and then on the sides of the ones that don't. I will say this, when you are using the stencils from Dollar Tree that aren't the self-adhesive kind, they can bleed easily, so just remember that not every single pattern is going to be perfect, and you have to be okay with that. If you are very picky about that, take your time, make sure you're adding a lot of pressure to the stencils. You can even tape them down if you want to. There's different things you can do to try to get a more perfect stencil pattern. But you know, for the most part, be prepared for little mistakes, and you can always take a small paintbrush afterward and fix those mistakes if they really bug you. To the front of the crates with the wooden slats, I went ahead and glued on these little knobs that I got from Hobby Lobby. I got them a couple of years ago. I think they cost me $2 for each knob. Dollar Tree does carry knobs that you can buy right now. They just didn't match the vibe of what I wanted, but they do come 2 for $1, which is a really good price. They have them in like a star shape, a moon shape, a cloud shape. So if you're interested, check out Dollar Tree. I glued my 2 black crates together, and then I slide my brown crates inside of the black crates. And now I have this cute little drawer unit that I could place items inside of there, like cotton rounds, pieces of lipstick, lip gloss, chapstick, just anything that can fit in those crates that won't slide through the gaps. I love the way that this came out. I love it so much. Next up, I'm going to be using these Dollar Tree lipstick organizers. I went ahead and I painted the sides and front and back black using black chalk paint. I also got this little organizer from Dollar Tree. It's used to organize paper and folders. I'm going to go ahead and paint the front of this black. Even though it's already black, I wanted the front to match my lipstick organizer a little bit better, give it that matte look versus the shiny plastic look. Then I take my stencils and I go ahead and I add the pattern onto these pieces. I wanted it to match everything else I'm making because I plan on keeping it inside of my bathroom. Now I got these little drawer organizers from Dollar Tree. I'm gluing 2 of them together and then gluing my lipstick organizer on top of that. You can make this as big as you like. I didn't paint the drawers black because I knew if I did that, the paint would keep chipping as I opened the drawers. Now I have this really inexpensive makeup organizing piece that I can use to hold single eyeshadows, blush, my lipsticks, lip glosses. And you're asking yourself, what am I doing with that paper folder organizer? You can use that to hold makeup palettes, so eyeshadow palettes, blush palettes, highlighter palettes. Both of these pieces only cost me $4 to make. I love the way they came out. I love, honestly, a lot of these DIYs. I'm really proud of how they came out. This next DIY is a DIY that I made and is now residing in my sister's house inside of her bathroom. So from Dollar Tree, you just pick up their small little wooden boxes that have a little drawer to them. Now you can flip these boxes over if you don't want the pattern that's in the front of them showing. So they tend to have a heart, a butterfly. You can go ahead, flip it around so it's not showing. Now what I'm doing is I am taking the outer boxes and I'm going to be gluing them together. Not every 2 are alike. Some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller. So I try to get ones that are close to each other, next to each other, so the whole unit doesn't end up all lopsided and funky looking. You can use as many boxes as you like. To attach the boxes together, you could use wood glue, which Dollar Tree carries. I decided to use some wood glue sticks just to make the process go by faster in terms of the drying time. So I just go ahead and glue all of my boxes together. To To cover the gaps that are on the sides of the box and the top, I used Dollar Tree wood planks. I used a razor and scissors to cut through the wood. If you have something else you can use on hand, go ahead and use that. And you can see I just placed it over the gaps and it just looks nicer to me. I wish the Dollar Tree wood planks were a little bit longer and they could really cover up everything perfectly. I was just figuring out the measurements and then covering up all these gaps. It was then time to paint everything, the boxes, the little drawers. You're going to paint it all whatever color you want. I used Waverly chalk paint in white. I got it from Walmart, and I made sure I kind of globbed the paint where there was gaps, and I was just kind of using it as wood filler. If you have wood filler on hand, you can go ahead and use that, but I didn't have any when I made this, so I just globbed the paint in those gaps and it just filled those spaces up. After all the paint is completely dry, I go ahead and place my drawers inside of the boxes. Now, some drawers are bigger and some are smaller, so you have to find the correct box sometimes. It's like playing with a block toy for babies. You're trying to find the correct drawer and box that match each other. Anyways, now I ended up using these metal label holders that I got from Hobby Lobby on sale for half off. It was $2.50 for each pack I bought. I used 2 packs total, and 4 are in each pack. I figured out where I wanted them to be placed, and then I went ahead and I glued them down. This time around I did use wood glue just because I was afraid that if I used hot glue and I glued them down, I would get them in the wrong spot and I wouldn't be able to take it off without destroying everything. I ended up in this DIY putting like mail, pins, keys, and pens, but this is perfect for a bathroom to hold jewelry, to hold cotton pads, little pieces of makeup that fit in. It's a beautiful piece. The next part of this video isn't Dollar Tree related, but let me tell you, it is amazing and I wanted to share it with you guys. Target is carrying these self-adhesive wall tiles. If you cannot find them on the website and it says out of stock, check back because it'll go out of stock and then come back a different day. So make sure you have notifications set up for it. I found it on a day where it said out of stock and then it just popped up again. And I'm just placing these stickers around my vanity. And let me tell you, it looks amazing. It cost me $10 to do. I needed 2 packs. Each pack is $5. And you just place them right on your wall. Some people say you can use a self-adhesive spray if you're afraid about them coming off with humidity, but they look amazing for $10. I had a lot left over. I didn't even know what to do with it. I still have it. I'm thinking of keep saving it just in case anything happens with this coming off of the wall, but I absolutely adore how this turned out. I decided to include this in this video because it's inexpensive to do. You don't have to make every little piece. You just buy it and you stick it on the wall. It does take patience and you're not going to get everyone perfect. If you want everyone to be perfect, it's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of time. The thing with this is it's pretty busy, and since it's busy, if you don't get pieces of the tile perfectly straight, perfectly lined up, it's not like it's totally noticeable, because when you're looking at it, it's not like you're looking at one particular design. You're looking at it as a whole versus individual pieces. So that's the great thing about it. It's very forgiving if you're not getting everything perfect. But I really wanted to share this with you guys because this only cost me $10 to do, and I still have a bunch of tile left over. It's really inexpensive and I think it's awesome, so I wanted to share that. I truly hope you guys enjoyed all of these DIYs. Hopefully they inspire you guys and can come in handy. Make sure you check out all things crafty. Melissa, I will link her down below again for you guys. Check out her video and you won't believe what she made using Dollar Tree products. I don't know how she thinks of this stuff. Anyways, check her out. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.